So Hive is a NoSQL database that runs on your client. So it has the concept of boxes. So a box is similar to a collection or a table. So for example, if you've used SQL in the past, you would have created a table of users, for example, or a table of posts. Same thing with NoSQL databases, like something like Firestore with Firebase. You have collections. So you can create a box, which you can think of as a table or a collection, and then you'd say await. In order to do that, you'd say await hive.openBox, and then you would say the name of the box. Now once the box is opened, you can get this box by doing hive.box and then give it the name, and then you can add data to this box. You can add it with a key, so you say box.put name, and then the value would be David. Now not only can these be primitive data types like strings, but you could also create objects, which we're going to see how to do that. We can also add values without a key, so this will just auto increment. So right here you can see we explicitly define the key, but here we don't define the key, so we just say box.add, and then it will add it to the next index. Next we have get using key, so you can say box.get and then pass in name, or get using index, so box.get at, and then the index is 1. Lastly, you can delete keys using box.delete with a key, or delete using an index using box.delete at. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at something called a future builder. So a future builder allows us to call a future, which is an asynchronous function, and then while we wait for that function to execute, we can display different states in the screen. In order to do that, we'll say future builder, and then it takes into parameters. First one is a future, so we'll say hive.openBox, and then we'll call it notes. So we're creating a table or a box called notes. And then the second parameter is a builder, which takes in a context and a snapshot. Snapshot is the data coming from this future. Now this snapshot will have different states, so you'll see what I'm talking about right now. With this snapshot object, we can check the connection state. So we say if snapshot.connection state equals to connection state.done, then we want to do something. Otherwise, we just render a circular progress indicator. So we return center, and then we say child circular progress indicator. And let's say the color to be K yellow color. So basically what we're doing right now is that a future builder lets us easily display different states in our application. It takes in a future, so this is an asynchronous function, which means that it can take time to execute. So when this is rendered first, this call will execute. However, the data will not be there yet. So that's why the connection state will not be done. So you have different connection states. So you can say connection state dot, and then you have active, done, none, and waiting. So basically we want to, once it's done, we know that this completed, right? But if it's not done, we know that it's in either in states that are not completed. So in that case, we want to show a circular progress indicator. Now what we'll do is, once this is done, we will first check if there is an error. So we'll say if snapshot.has error, and if it does, we're going to return center child, and then we'll just return text saying an error occurred. Otherwise, we are going to return a new widget, and we're going to call it home screen, which we need to create. So let's create that. Let's under lib, let's create a new file, and then we'll call it home_screen.dart. And I'm actually going to create a new folder called screens, and I'll move this home screen widget into the screens folder. And then here we'll create a stateless widget. So we'll say home screen, and then let's import the material package. And as you can see now in main.dart, we can import the home screen widget. So we'll get rid of this error. Now let's go back to the home screen. So this is what we want to create. We're going to have an app bar. We're going to have a grid view, and this grid view is going to have grid cells. And then we're going to have a floating action button, which will allow us to add a new note to the screen. So first thing we want to add is change this into a scaffold. And then we'll add an app bar. So we'll say app bar. And then we'll add a title to be const text. And then we'll say notable. And then for the style, we'll say text style. And then pass in font family to be satisfy. Let's also add a font size to be 32. Next, in app bar, we want to say the center title to be true. Now if you save that, we can see that the title appeared. Next step, let's create the note model. So under lib, I'll create a new folder, and then I'll say models. And then under that, I'll create a new file called note.dart. So here, in order to create a Hive model, we'll do this. So say class note, and then you have to add a decorator on top of the class. So you say Hive type, and then you give it a type ID. And in order to have this, we need to import the Hive package. We also need to add this line right here. So say part and then note.g.dart. And this will be used by the Hive generator to create a note adapter. So basically what we need is to be able to convert this Hive model into a model that we can understand or use in Flutter. And we'll see once we generate this model, you will see that this file will be created. So don't worry about the red underline for now. Next, for each field, we have to add @Hive field and give it an ID. So say 0, and then final string title. So every note will have a title. We also have @Hive field, and we say 1 final string body. So every note will have a body, and then Hive field, and then 2, and then final date time date. And then lastly, we need a constructor. So say note, and we'll make it a named constructor, and we'll say required this.title. So you cannot have a note without a title. Same thing with a body and a date. So here we'll say body and date. Now let's run the generator. So we'll come here and we'll copy this command, and then I'll go to the terminal, and then I'll paste that here. So Flutter packages pub run build runner, and then build. Once the build runner complete is successful, you'll see that this new file was created, which is the same as this. And this is essentially the model that we can use. So this is a note adapter, and it will allow us to use the note model. So next step, we need to register this model. So we have to go to main.dart, and then at the top, we have to say hive.register adapter, and then we say notes adapter. And then we have to import this. Now also, since we commented this code out, we're no longer using the shared preferences package, so let's remove this import. So now we have registered our adapter. So let's just restart the application just to make sure that everything is working correctly.